and thank you for joining us on Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Najaa Tijani. And now the news in detail. The latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicate that the country has 220 new cases of COVID-19 as of May 2nd, 2020. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 2,388 in the country. The figures, which came in around 11 p.m. on May 2nd, also show that the country has recorded 85 deaths and discharged 385 persons. Meanwhile, banning interstate commuting indefinitely is one of the sure ways of flattening the curve of the coronavirus pandemic, given the way Nigerians live and move. However, restricting intrastate movement might be a Herculean task due to the large of the people, which negates social distancing. Achibong Basi reports from the Cross River Akwa Ibom state boundary.
Except for those rendering essential services, the Cross River State government, as part of its proactive measures to prevent the importation of the virus into the state, had directed a lockdown of all its boundaries and international borders. And so right now, we are here at the Calabar to Head Bridge to monitor the situation. In compliance with the federal government's directive, and I can tell you that refusing non-essential service providers entry into the state has been a Herculean task. It's even more difficult at the international border, where we basically have to hold back close to 50,000 Cameroonians.
You find people who come in, they pick the speedboats from there, and they now bust somewhere where we cannot see.
You can see the VIA auto truck there. It's to barricade here. Once it is 6:30, nobody transfers from Akwa Ibom into Cross River.
The benefits of this move by the federal government will make tackling and defeating the pandemic a lot easier than when it is allowed to spread to every part of the country. However, many people are of the opinion that banning interstate travels is not the magic wand to stop the spread of the virus, but the implementation of directives aimed at halting the spread of the disease and taking individual responsibility to join in ending the pandemic. From the Calabar to Head Bridge, Achibong Basi, NTA News.
And Governor Udom Emmanuel has announced the relaxation of some movement regulations and restriction orders in the state to open up the economy, as contained in a message to the people of Akwa Ibom. Susanna Supo reports that the use of face masks, as announced by the governor, is now compulsory.
In his message, Governor Udom Emmanuel noted that the relaxation of movement and restriction order in the state, which takes effect from Monday, May 4, 2020, is in accordance with the guidelines from the federal government. Top on the guidelines for relaxing the restriction is the compulsory use of nose mask by every person in public places, commercial buses and offices, while declaring that schools, religious gatherings, hospitality services, social gatherings, funerals, parties remain closed till further notice. Governor Emmanuel said market will be opened 3 times a week within stipulated time.
Face masks must be worn and social distancing must be observed by all. All commissioners and permanent secretaries should work out modalities that will get the staff of their respective ministries to return to work in batches.
The governor also announced that non-essential interstate movements remain prohibited except those moving agricultural produce, medical equipment and personnel. He stressed specific guidelines for public transport operators.
Taxis must carry a maximum of 3 passengers, 1 in front and 2 behind. And buses must not carry more than 2 persons per row.
A dusk to dawn curfew has also been imposed across the state from the hour of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. with effect from Monday, May 4, 2020. In Uyo, Susan Asokwo, NTA News.
Now, ahead of Monday's lifting of the 5-week lockdown order in the nation's capital, Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Muhammad Musa Bello, has unveiled stringent measures residents must adopt in the coming weeks. Shuaibu Onozi Yakubu tells us more.
Worship and recreational centers, schools will not be allowed, and residents must wear face masks and observe social distance while in public. FCT Minister Muhammad Musa Bello says security agencies have been mandated to arrest and prosecute through the mobile courts anyone found contravening the guidelines, especially the overnight curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and the ban on interstate travel.
And these guidelines will be enforced for the next 14 days. But more specifically, with regards to the ban on interstate movement, we intend, with the support and cooperation of all the security agencies within the FCT, have all agreed unanimously to provide additional men and resources at all entry points, using coordinated joint teams to ensure that this enforcement is done totally.
Effective from Monday, 4th May 2020, all civil servants in the FCT on grade level 14 and above are to report for work 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Market operation days of Wednesday and Saturdays still remain, while companies involved in food processing, drug manufacturing, and construction can commence operation subject to the approved health and safety guidelines. Shuaibu Onozi Yakubu, NTA News.
Now, to talk more about these stringent measures, I have with me in the studio Abubakar Sani, who is the Special Advisor Media to the FCT Minister. You're welcome to our studios.
Thank you for having me.
Now, everyone is looking forward to Monday, which that will commence the ease of lockdown. What advice do you have for Nigerians in the FCT?
Thank you very much. You just listened to the Honourable Minister of FCT. He's talking about the plans by the FCT administration to implement the new guidelines for the easing of the lockdown as outlined by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 after the speech of Mr. President. I think what I will want from what the Minister said for residents of Abuja to really take home is it is not as if the government is comfortable that we are already home and dry as far as COVID-19 is concerned. But you know, in the past 5 weeks, businesses have stagnated, and this has, to a certain extent, affected the livelihoods of people. And so that is why Mr. President was concerned that there will be need for some easing, particularly in the business sector, so as to be able to stimulate the economy from the larger scale, from the smaller scales, so that certain activities can begin to take place. And while you are struggling as a government to protect or to save lives, you also need to secure livelihoods. If people survive COVID-19, they also need to earn a living thereafter. So the measures are not intended to open the gates and to see people flooding the streets. On the contrary, what the government intends to do is to make things much easier for people to be able to do their day-to-day businesses, which they can do even within their neighborhoods. So residents of Abuja should not expect that by tomorrow all the entry points will just be open and people will begin to flood in. As a matter of fact, if you look at it, before now, only workers on level 1 to 12 are asked not to come to work. But more are added, because right now only level 14 and above can come. So meaning that level 13 officer will not come to work. So what we expect is that fewer people will be on the streets of Abuja. It is not punitive. It is for us to really understand that this COVID-19 virus is real and people really need to take responsibility for their well-being.
Now, speaking of which, especially talking about easing the situation, Nigerians have gradually adjusted to the lockdown period. Do you think life will return to normal starting from tomorrow?
Absolutely. That is what the government intends to achieve. And that is, like I said, to stimulate the economy. Because these are the things that people do from day to day to earn their livelihoods. So, for example, commercial activities like banks, are encouraged to begin to offer services, construction sites, construction companies, food processing companies, and what have you. All these are places that really galvanize the economy. These are places that provide jobs for people, and they also provide livelihoods for people. So with this gradual stimulation, with this gradual easing of businesses, people will begin to earn one or two things and begin to adjust. So, but going forward, it is very, very important for us to really look at it that figures coming out from the NCDC are rising. And so we really have to, focus more on the stay-at-home directives rather than thinking of just going out and be there on the streets.
Once again, how important is it for people to adhere to these measures?
It is very, very important, because the danger of this disease is that nobody knows who is a carrier. And so once you become exposed, chances are that you may become infected.
So people should use their face masks.
So in fact, one of the measures that the FCT administration is going to embark on as from tomorrow is that the use of face mask is compulsory. Everybody, wherever you are, whether in the workplace, in public places, on the streets, you must be on your face mask. And that is why all the security agents have agreed with the administration to really, really strictly enforce it going forward. And mobile codes are there to ensure maximum compliance.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that update and for the extra information. That was the SA Media to the FCT Minister Abubakar Sani. As the lockdown is, however, being relaxed, there are questions on the lips of many, especially what Nigerians have learned about the coronavirus and how they will comply with the guidelines after lockdown. Doing Dia reports.
Virus is a deadly disease, and it can kill affected young, old, rich, poor.
I learned how to wash my hand, put hand sanitizer, and I should not put my hand in my eyes, my nose, and I should not touch my face. And before I eat, I must wash my hand. That's what I learned.
No doubt, Nigerians, especially in Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory, where the total lockdown order was carried out, have learned a lot in these past days of the order. But how well are they going to sustain the instructions given by medical experts and, of course, the task force is a question that remains on the lips of many.
Those who will be violating in the FCT, should there be overloading of passengers in the vehicle, those who are not maintaining the issue of having sanitizers, having face masks, there will be so much enforcement going on, not only of individual, of supermarkets and several other areas.
We have to start from somewhere, which I feel it's okay for some people to start going out. May not be everybody actually. And it's actually okay at the same time that for the fact that they have been able to tell everyone what to do, for the government to even impose wearing of masks on everyone, that wherever you're going out, you have to wear your mask.
The move by the federal government to gradually ease the total lockdown order is to salvage the economy and give Nigerians the opportunity also to carry out their day-to-day activities. And so, as the total lockdown order is being relaxed, one message that is being put to Nigerians is the need to comply with all the laid down rules and regulations to ensure that the coronavirus pandemic does not grow out of proportion. In Abuja, Doing Dia, NT News.
The Abia State government says one of the 2 index cases of COVID-19, who tested positive rather, has now tested negative and will soon be discharged from the isolation center in Umuahia. Chinyere Okoli reports.
Governor Bazu noted that the patient, who is the oldest coronavirus patient in the Southeast Zone, has shown marked clinical improvement and met the NCDC national criteria for the discharge of COVID-19 patients from isolation centers. According to the governor, all those tested, including those with symptoms of COVID-19, have all proved negative.
His remarkable improvement is a positive highlight in the clinical management of this novel disease, and we are grateful to the team of healthcare workers directly or indirectly responsible for this victory.
On the lockdown exercise in the state, Governor Bazu gave guidelines towards easing the lockdown, stating that commercial tricycles will carry only 2 passengers and mini buses not more than 5 passengers, all wearing face masks. He noted that schools were to still remain closed, while radio classroom initiative to be sustained. He maintained that leaders of churches are not to allow large congregations during each stream of service, as buckets of water and hand sanitizers to be provided at the entrance of the church. In Umuahia, Chinyere Okoli, NTA News.
And in Ondo State, the government has appealed to the public to join hands with it in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic by observing social distancing, among other measures, as the state records 4 new cases of COVID-19. Olubunmi Roju reports that the new patients are currently receiving treatment while their contacts are being traced to check community transmission.
Confirming the 4 new cases, the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Wahab Adigberu, said the infected persons were residents of Ondo State, with 2 based in Akure, while the other 2 reside in Federal local government area of the state, bringing the total cases in the state to 13.
2 of them from Ose local government. One came from Kano, the other one came from Lagos, but the other 2 are from Akure.
Worried by the increasing figures, the Commissioner reiterated government's commitment to contain the pandemic.
We are beginning to see what we call community transmission. That is, that means people have started contacting the virus from one contact to another person. What we have said is that all these people, the market women selling food items, should do so in front of their various homes rather than go to the market.
He warned residents against violating government's directives on containment measures. The community transmission of COVID-19 in Ondo State is connected to the infected murder suspect who was arraigned in court recently. In Akure, Olubunmi Roju, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Nasarawa State has recorded the first death from the coronavirus pandemic of State House of Assembly member representing Nasarawa Central, Suleiman Adamu. Following the development, the State Assembly complex will remain closed while members have been directed to self-isolate until conclusion of proper examination by medical personnel. The government has also announced a total shutdown of 5 local government areas, including Lafia, the state capital, to ensure containment of the virus spread. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Mr. Sunday Thomas as the Substantive Commissioner for Insurance, Chief Executive Officer, National Insurance Commission, NICOM. A statement by the Special Advisor, Media and Communications to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Yunus Atanko Abdullahi, states that Mr. Thomas replaced immediate past Commissioner for Insurance, Malam Muhammad, as Acting Commissioner for Insurance, CEO of the National Insurance Commission in July 2019. Thomas, who has over 3 decades of experience in the industry as an operator and regulator, was appointed Deputy Commissioner in charge of technical matters by President Buhari in April 2017. He was formerly Director General of the Nigerian Insurers Association in 2010. President Buhari also approves the appointment of 2 board members for the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, Mrs. Yana Alibiaro as the non-executive director representing the Northeast and Mrs. Diana Okonta as non-executive director to fill the slot for the South-South. The appointments take immediate effect. You're watching NTA Nationwide. We'll take you to Lagos for more reports. Dotun is our guide.
Thank you, Najatu. With a few hours to the commencement of the gradual ease of the COVID-19 lockdown in Lagos, residents are eager for things to return to normal and are also worried about the possibility of further spread of the virus. Lane Lineke, who went round town, reports.
Several areas across the metropolis are still wearing a look, as only a handful of residents can be seen on the road, as others are home in compliance with the stay-home directive to curb the spread of COVID-19. The anticipation for the gradual ease of the lockdown to begin Monday, as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari, is expected to bring a semblance of normalcy to the city and, by extension, the economy.
I'm very happy to go out tomorrow because now there's nothing in the house.
The lockdown teach me a lot of things, and it makes me to economize myself.
The Lagos State government had earlier announced guidelines that will ensure the ease of will not lead to an upsurge in the COVID-19 statistics.
Passenger commuters are mandated to wear face masks at all times, sanitize with alcohol-based sanitizer, or wash their hands with soap and running water before and after each trip.
And some Lagosians are not oblivious of the fact that they must protect themselves against the virus.
We are going to try as much as we can individually to protect ourselves.
People should protect themselves. Coronavirus is real.
I don't think whether this is in from 9 to 2, it will be effective due to the crowd living in Lagos.
It is left to be seen if people will adhere to the protective and safety guidelines, one of which is the compulsory use of face masks in public by all citizens. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
COVID-19 palliatives worth millions of naira has been distributed to residents of Iwaya and Makoko areas of Lagos to augment their food supplies. Annie Daniels reports that the Mountain of Fire and Miracle Ministries is behind this gesture.
Mindful of the effects of COVID-19 on the socio-economic activities of Nigerians and the limitations of governments with regards to meeting the needs of every Nigerian, the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries embarked on massive giveaway of mostly consumables to the residents of Iwaya and Makoko communities, both densely populated areas in Lagos. Receiving the goodies on behalf of the people and government of Lagos State, Chairman of Yaba Local Council Development Area, Honorable Kayode Omiyale, advised well-meaning Nigerians to assist the government at this critical time when the nation is combating the coronavirus pandemic.
When I'm hungry, you give me food. When I'm in prison, you visit me. When I'm naked, you clothe me. That is what our Father in the Lord has done.
In this community, in the years past, he has erected several boreholes for the people of this community to benefit from.
Beneficiaries expressed appreciation to MFM for the kind gesture.
God will surely replace any amount he spent on this thing, multiply for him.
As he came to our rescue, may God also do same for him. The church also presented an ambulance to the Lagos State government. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Nationwide continues after the break.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
This is to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers who put their lives on the line, working in all the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, especially Lagos, Kano, Ogun, and Abuja, to ensure that we beat COVID-19 in the least possible time. Thank you so much. You are our superheroes. This message is from the Governor's Wives Forum, the wife of the Vice President and the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Welcome there. Have you washed your hands?
Inside my house again. This thing not the key black man.
I don't know if it's misinformation or poor hygiene that will kill you first. Coronavirus is real, and good hygiene practice will save your life. Anyway, no hand washing, no eating.
I will not take care of it. How's one of the parents? Coronavirus is real and it's on the rise. But you can help yourself and help others to be safe. Remember, we can stop the spread. It's in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying with NTA Nationwide. As the world marks Press Freedom Day on 3rd May, President Muhammadu Buhari reiterates the commendation he extended to the Nigerian media in his last two broadcasts to the country, applauding the good work they are doing as the nation confronts COVID-19. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, the President applauds the role the Nigerian media has played so far and charges that it continues until, quote, we get to a safe harbor when the world and our country are finally free of this greatest health challenge in recent history, unquote. Reflecting on the theme of World Press Freedom Day 2020, Media for Democracy, Journalism and Elections in Times of Disinformation, President Buhari says Nigeria has a very unhealthy dose of disinformation and fake news, particularly on social media, and advises a change in that direction. On the part of government, the President pledges a recommitment to the ideals of freedom of the press, noting that democracy thrives better in an atmosphere of transparency. Meanwhile, the Speaker, House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, on the occasion of World Press Freedom Day, tasks Nigerian media on factual and developmental reporting, while lauding the doggedness of the Nigerian media in reporting and helping in finding solutions to the challenges facing the country. The Speaker says it would not be out of place to urge media practitioners in the country to be more factual about reportage of activities in the society with a view to promoting development. In a statement signed by his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Lanre Lasisi, the Speaker says the Nigerian media must rise to the challenge of fake news, especially as the country battles COVID-19. And in this year's theme for the World Press Freedom Day, which is journalism without fear or favor, Bajabiamila says no country would thrive if the media spreads falsehood. He says the media has a duty to support the government in the drive to make meaningful impact in the country, as well as call the same government to order where it is evident that it drifts. And to speak more on World Press Freedom Day is the president, the national president of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Mr. Isiguzo Chris, with me in the studio. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Now, considering the theme, Media for Democracy, Journalism and Elections in Times of Disinformation, are journalists in Nigeria truly walking the talk?
Thank you very much. The theme for this year's World Press Freedom Day actually dwells on journalism without fear or favor. You know clearly that in the absence of a vibrant and independent media, democracy is imperiled. Democracy suffers, and but when you have a bold, courageous media, the country benefits. Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution as amended reposed this responsibility of holding government accountable on the shoulders of the media. Therefore, it becomes very, very imperative that the media must be firm, the media must be bold, the media must be courageous. If you operate in a system where the media is compromised, of course, the people are clearly alienated from governance. So this theme is very, very apt because we must be journalists that ply our trade without fear or favor. Democracy must have a media that is bold to speak truth to power. I really appreciate Mr. President for making a promise in that statement by Mr. Femi Adesina that the government was going to continue to promote the ideals of free speech, the ideals of press freedom. That is quite encouraging because the present situation in the country, we are indeed lagging behind. If you look at the report of Reporters Without Borders, Nigeria is placed on 115 on the global index, and that's not a good one. So I really appreciate what the president has said, and I also want to appeal to Mr. President to now walk the talk.
Now, still on President Buhari's speech, calling, what are your thoughts on the president calling journalists frontline workers in the fight against the coronavirus?
It's very, very clear that we are frontline workers. I want to believe in the last 5 weeks that the country was literally shut down. The media, we've been out there working. We were never on a lockdown. We were working round the clock, trying to ensure that we inform and we educate and we mobilize Nigerians. All the press conferences, all the media engagements, media activities of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, of course, the journalists are there. As I speak with you, a journalist working with one of the print dailies in Sokoto died as a result of COVID-19. As I speak, a journalist is in the isolation center in Adamawa State. And we have a couple of others that have been affected one way or the other. So we are clearly on the front line. And I want to make a very special appeal. I recall the last broadcast of Mr. President, where he said that an insurance program has been designed for healthcare providers, the healthcare professionals who are also on the front line. So I want to appeal that such should equally be extended to the media. Beyond the insurance, we are also looking at a special remuneration, hazard allowance for journalists on the front line. It's very, very important. And indeed, I want to appeal to the National Assembly at this moment because there is need for legislation to improve on the media salary structure. We need an enhanced structure so that these journalists that are on the front line that work around the clock, they should equally be properly and specially, uniquely remunerated. So if it has become imperative that we have the necessary legislation, then we need to do it now that everybody is, they are churning out bills, is coming out so freely. Those in the health sector are benefiting from it. The media should equally benefit from it. So I want to indeed appreciate the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who of course has extended his hands of friendship via his statement from his special advisor Lanre Lasisi, congratulating the media for the job we are doing. It simply means that he is a media-friendly speaker. That's right, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. So we indeed appreciate that. But like I said of Mr. President, let the Speaker also go a step further to support us in getting the necessary legislation so that they don't just appreciate what we are doing, we'll also be motivated via our take-home package.
Now, any final words on press freedom in less than a minute?
Well, the situation now is not the best. I want to appeal to all the stakeholders, the political actors, the security operatives. They must begin to see the media as stakeholders in the Nigerian project. It's not a question of we versus them. We are part and parcel of this polity. The media, some of our colleagues paid the supreme price for us to get to where we are today. So there is no way this democracy is going to work if we continue to alienate the same media. Let all of us work together in the collective interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that was the National President of the NUJ, Mr. Isiguzo Chris. Now to security matters. Men and officers of the Nigerian Air Force have been charged to rededicate themselves to duty as the force is committed to providing them with conducive working environment for effective service delivery. Salamatu Umar Abdullahi reports.
Air Marshal Sadiq Baba, who was represented by the Air Officer Commanding Special Operations Command, Air Vice Marshal Charles Apochai, eulogized the foresight of the 207 Quick Response Special Operations Command for what he described as motivational mission that consolidate federal government.
The growing presence of Nigerian Air Force operational bases in the 6th geopolitical zone of the country is intended to consolidate the federal government's holistic effort at addressing Nigerian security challenges.
Governor Bello Muhammad of Zamfara State was represented at the occasion by the State Deputy Governor Mahadi Aliyu, commended the effort of the officers in enhancing rapid intervention and targeted offensive operations against threats in Zamfara State and Northwest region in general.
On behalf of the State Executive Governor and good people of Zamfara State, appreciate the recent operations of Gidan Jaja by the officers and men of the Nigerian Air Force that effectively neutralized hundreds of bandits and their camps.
Earlier in his welcome address, the Commander 207 Quick Response Group, Gusau Air Commando Adintu Japet, explained that the command in Zamfara is one of the units established primarily to complement other security agencies in curbing the menace of insurgency within and around the state. In Gusau, Salamut Umar Abdullahi, NTA News.
And next is Kaduna, where Suleiman is standing by with stories making the rounds there.
Thank you, Najatu, and welcome to Kaduna. The Future Assured initiative of the First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has again extended hands of love and care to the less privileged in Kano State with the distribution of palliatives to cushion the effect of the coronavirus pandemic in the state. Yanaza Zambarao reports that more than 500,000 households are expected to benefit from the palliatives comprising drugs and food items.
Distributed in about 5 centers across the metropolis to assist the vulnerable at these trying moments when the state is being ravaged by high rates of death from yet to be identified illness.
We have different kind of medications. Diabetic drugs, hypertensive drugs, and malaria drugs. And all these things are free of charge. We have different centers.
To ensure the items get to the targeted audience, the Future Assured team embarked on house-to-house distribution. According to the coordinator of the initiative, Hadi Uba, distribution of the palliatives is a continuous process and will gauge across the 44 local government areas of the state. In Kano, Yohannes Asambaro, NTA.
The Mayor of Zazzau and Chairman Kaduna State Council of Chiefs, Alhaji Shehu Idris, has added his voice to the plea for Nigerians to strictly live by official regulations and advice of experts in the onerous task of containing the coronavirus pandemic. Correspondent Majama Adamu reports that the Emir spoke exclusively to NTA News in his palace.
The Emir Alhaji Shehu Idris, who particularly appreciated the unrelenting efforts of the federal and Kaduna state governments in containing the virus, emphasized that every citizen has an obligation to join in the fight, especially through adherence to prescribed safety measures.
I wish to use this medium to call on the people of Zazzau Emirate, Kaduna State, and Nigerians from all walks of life to strictly abide by the instruction of the federal government, Kaduna State government, the NCDC, as well as the submission of religious leaders to curb the suffering of COVID-19 pandemic.
Alhaji Shehu Idris therefore directed all traditional rulers in his domain to join the fight against the pandemic through sustained sensitization of their subjects on basic tenets of hygiene and social distancing as they relate to COVID-19.
I hereby urge all district heads, village heads, ward heads, Hardo, Fulani to educate their subject on the importance of personal hygiene and environmental sanitation, particularly hand washing with soap and water, and observe the social distancing measures.
The monarch expressed optimism that with the right attitude, the fight against the pandemic is winnable. In Kaduna, Majama Adamu, NTA News.
Stay tuned for more reports on Nationwide after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind us all that this pandemic is spreading like wildfire. We must all arise to fight this potent and invisible common enemy by adhering to the guidelines and protocols for COVID-19, which includes personal hygiene, social distancing. We must wear masks in public places, obeying the stay-at-home order, and reporting unusual illness to the authorities for investigation.
As you can see, I'm at home. I'm reading a book. When I get bored, I watch movies. Life has not stopped. Together we can beat this thing. All we have to do is make sure we do the necessary things, which is wash our hands, use a hand sanitizer frequently, wash your hands with soap. Please avoid crowded environments, crowded places. If you must head out maybe to get groceries, use the face mask. So please stay safe, stay responsible, and stay at home.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner We say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
And now we'll join Mina in our Enugu studios.
Hello, Jatu. Good afternoon and welcome to Enugu. Imo State Governor Hepo Zadema says the use of face masks in public places and other recommended safety measures put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is mandatory, even as he relaxes COVID-19 lockdown in the state. Bright Bochua has details.
In the last 4 weeks, economic, social and religious activities were grounded following the lockdown and curfew imposed by the Imo State government to curtail the spread of COVID-19. Governor Hope Uzodimma, while relaxing some of the restrictions, states that effective Sunday, May 3, 2020, all food markets, supermarkets and pharmaceutical shops are permitted to open for business operations, with the exception of large markets. Governor Uzodimma further states that the dusk to dawn curfew remains in place.
Public gatherings not exceeding 50 persons at a time shall be allowed. However, the rule of social distancing must be strictly adhered to. If such gatherings must hold, there must be sufficient provisions for bucket stands for regular washing of hands in running water. Hand sanitizers must also be made available for regular use by the people.
Governor Uzodimma appeals to Imo people not to abuse the directive by abandoning the recommended safety measures of regular washing of hands, use of sanitizers, and maintenance of social distancing. In Owerri, Bright Ebuju, NTA News.
The National Directorate of Employment has assured trainees and trainers under the various skills acquisition program of its support. Enugu State Coordinator Dr. Chika Ona gave this assurance during an overview of the scheme as against the backdrop of the stay-at-home order by government. Amechi Pius reports.
These are some of the beneficiaries of the Vocational Skill Development Program of the National Directorate of Employment. The apprentice scheme, which began in January this year, was a 3-month program that was suspended 2 weeks to the end of the exercise. Despite the lockdown, the Directorate paid the allowances of both trainees and trainers under the scheme to cushion the effect of the lockdown on the beneficiaries.
After the basic NOAS, that is a basic National Open Apprenticeship Scheme, we also pick those of them that are excel in their skills and their training, and then give them what we call advanced National Open Apprenticeship Scheme.
The 510 trainees drawn from the 17 council areas of Enugu State They were exposed to on-the-job training on various trades such as hairdressing. Some of the trainers were also beneficiaries of the vocational skill acquisition program of the Directorate, who have become owners of their own businesses and are creating job opportunities for other young Nigerians.
I'm able to train like 60 people.
I'm not even after the money they paid me, because what I have gained is more than what they will pay me. Is what I'm is them that made me what I am today, because they trained me free.
I learned a lot. In short, government, they are trying.
According to the state coordinator, arrangements are being made to develop an online platform to train more people in the comfort of their homes, even in the face of the stay-at-home order by government occasioned by COVID-19. In Enugu, Amechi Pius, NTA News.
And that's a bit from Enugu. It's back to you, Najati, for a continuation of Nationwide.
Thank you. The Etsu Nupe and Chairman, Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, Alhaji Yahya Abubakar, has called on Nigerians to view the coronavirus pandemic not as a death sentence, but rather a trying period for mankind. The monarch made the call at the Wadata Palace Bida while speaking on the current efforts aimed at curtailing the spread of COVID-19. Jones Ajayi reports. It will come in our subsequent bulletin. Now, following the agreement by the 36 state governors and the directive by the president to ban interstate movement as part of measures to control the spread of the coronavirus, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila visited the Sokoto, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi state boundaries to monitor the situation. His report. And
this is the Sokoto Zamfara border, precisely in Bimasa village, which is almost 70 kilometers away from Sokoto, the state capital of Sokoto State, and 170 kilometers away from Gusau, the Zamfara state capital. We are presently here and monitoring the situation on the interstate lockdown. The roads are deserted, not business as usual, with few vehicular movements. At the state entry, the presence of security and medical personnel to monitor the movement of those coming in and going out of the state is taken very serious. Though we couldn't get anyone to speak to us on the situation, but we observed strict compliance with the restriction of movement. Most of the vehicles coming in at the entry point were those carrying essential items. The driver and his assistant had to go through medical examination before proceeding on the journey. At the boundary of Sokoto and Kebbi State, some drivers who tried to defy the directives were sent back by the security personnel. In Sokoto, Abraham Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
Now it's back to the advocacy against COVID-19 in Niger State by the Etsunupe. Jones Ajayi reports.
And Chairman, Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, Alhaji Yahya Abubakar, described COVID-19 as real, saying everybody is at risk of contracting the virus. He said there is the need for the people to make sacrifices for the nation to be able to overcome and defeat the virus. Based on this, the Etsunupe said gatherings including religious congregations, burials, weddings, and other ceremonies should be avoided. Etsu Yahya Abubakar emphasized the need to wash hands regularly with soap under running water and keep physical distance of at least 6 feet. The monarch urged the populace to also comply with all government guidelines for preventing the spread of COVID-19.
It has been said in the religious books, if you are in the place where the disease is actually devastating people's activities or lives, you should remain there. And if you are in a place that is safe, you should not go out of your place.
Etsunupe called on the people to continue to pray for God's healing and protection for the nation and the world at large. Jones Ajayi, NTA News.
Let's now take a look at the weather prospect for Monday. And that concludes the news on NTA Nationwide. Remember, as you go out tomorrow, to wear your face mask and maintain social distancing. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Thanks for watching.